quick. My name is Duke Mensopoko.
Don't forget the balloons,
check.
The DJ,
check.
And the drinks.
Listen, honey, I've got this party under control, okay?
Daddy, don't forget our birthday cake with the sparkly candles. Daddy, are you there?
The parties are 4 p.m., honey. Don't be late.
With the all-new CowPay on the CowBank app and website, you don't have to worry about carrying cash. Just place your order with your favorite merchant and pay with a Visa or MasterCard, mobile money or CowBank account, or scan and pay. Visit the Play Store or App Store and download the CowBank app today. CowBank app. Forget the cash.
CowBank. Forward.
Since 2017, a new dawn is breaking in Ghana. The NPP is building the foundations for growth and transformation. We are curbing unemployment with new and decent jobs.
Thanks to Nana, I've got a new job through NAPCO. That is why I'm voting for him as the MPP.
The promise of free SHS is now a reality.
Through education, I have a brighter future. That's why I'm voting for Nana and the NPP.
The future of our country is in the hands of a competent leader, a man you can trust.
I trust Nana.
This December, let's protect our progress. Let's give Nana 4 more to do more for you.
2020, 4 more for Nana. 2020, 2020, yes, for Nana.
Hello and welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. This week, 2 major issues. The thunderbolt out of the blue, the decision by now former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu to resign, as well as it's been exactly a week, 7 days after the passing of the first president of the Fourth Republic, Flight Lieutenant General John Rawlings. It's been a week of mourning. But of course, there are other issues as well from all perspectives, from the state, from the party, and from government, as well as the book of condolence that's been opened. We'll be looking at all of these issues on What the Papers Are Saying in this edition. But let's begin with the major stories as captured by the news portals and the major news outlets. Beginning with citinewsroom.com. On the Martin Amidu issue. Don't provoke me, Martin Amidu. Don't provoke me. My response will be unpalatable. Martin Amidu wants government. Blame Akufo-Addo if anything happens to me, Amidu. Amidu's resignation proves Akufo-Addo has lost corruption fight. I never asked Martin Amidu to shelve a Japa report, Nanado. To the Daily Graphic. Resignation of Special Prosecutor Amidu's claims disingenuous. Presidency affirms. To the Chronicle. You told lies. I gave you money. President debunks Martin Amidu's claims. To the Ghanaian Times. No interference in your work. Office of the President dismisses resigned OSP's allegations. To the New Crusading Guide. Occupy Ghana expresses concern over Amidu's resignation. The Chronicle. Contract for sale probe. Amidu punches holes in Shraj report and then resigns as special prosecutor. To the New Crusading Guide. NPP disappointed in Amidu's resignation, says no government official interfered in SP's work or the special prosecutor's work. To the Herald newspaper. Akufo-Addo paints Martin Amidu as problematic, reveals details of events leading to his resignation in an official response. To the matters related to the demise of former President Rawlings, CitiNewsroom.com. Rawlings didn't die from COVID-19. Long-standing aide spokesperson, former spokesperson Kofi Adams saying this. CitiNewsroom.com. Rawlings' death must bring an end to excessive politicization in Ghana. Emmanuel Bombande spoke today after signing the Book of Condolence at the Accra International Conference Center. To the Informer, Office of the President declares no 1 week for Rawlings and Kunedu not hospitalized. To the Daily Analyst, GJ eulogizes Rawlings. Akufo-Addo hijacking Rawlings' funeral. To the Chronicle, battle over where to bury Rawlings hypocritical. NDC fights government over JJ's funeral. To the Daily Post, NDC holds vigil to Anna Rawlings. John Mahama leads NDC to console Mrs. Rawlings and her children. To the Ghanaian Publisher, E.T. Mensah jabs NDC for causing unnecessary confusion over Rawlings' burial. So these are the major stories captured by the major news outlets, online portals, as well as the traditional hard copy newspapers. I've been joined in the studio by Selim Adonu, the head of features and articles, Citi FM, Citi TV. Welcome, Selim.
Thank you, Duke.
Also been joined by presidential correspondent for Citi FM, Citi TV, Sami Yafi. Welcome, Sami.
Good evening, Duke.
Let's begin with the issue of Martin Amidu. News broke on Monday that the special prosecutor had resigned. The night before, I released details of what had happened with the PPA, his side of the PPA probe, which was conducted, led to the dismissal of ABAJ. But let me find out from you. Of course, most of the time our viewers are interested in some of the backroom things we all don't get to see that is different from that. Some say the presidency was set into a state of pandemonium, for want of a better word, after this matter, was announced. This letter was released, the letter and then the statement from the office of the special prosecutor. Give us an inkling as to what happened. What did you observe? What went on? And then you can tell us what you think about Martin Amidu's decision to resign.
Okay, good evening, Duke. Good evening to our viewers. What you say is not far from the truth because it was unexpected. Even though there been a series of meetings between Mr. Amidu and the president on the same Ejapa deal, the resignation was not something the presidency was really expecting from Mr. Martin Amidu. So, as at the time he delivered the letter, which was, according to his statement, 15 minutes after 3 p.m., we were told that my information is that the president wasn't around after the time the letter was delivered to the presidency. So when he came back, he was given a copy, he read through, and then there were some few meetings as to the way forward with regards to this particular issue. The following day, there was another meeting, I'm told, where the chief of staff was asked to respond to Mr. Martin Amidu's letter, announcing that the president has accepted his resignation and thanked him for his services, and that in due time there will be a full statement detailing some of the issues Mr. Martin Amidu had raised with regards to leading to his resignation from the office. So this statement came on Wednesday, if I'm right, on Wednesday night, a detailed 9-page statement, 14 points statement.
40 points.
14, I understand. 40 paragraph statement, detailing what the government since 2018 had done for the office of the special prosecutor, which was in contrary to what was already in the media space with regards to the statement issued by Mr. Martin Amidu. So when this whole resignation came, it was a shock. As I said earlier, the presidency wasn't expecting it. We're told of a meeting between the board of the special prosecutor, in which their chairperson, Madam Linda, even said that they were even surprised that Mr. Martin Amidu had resigned because they didn't see it coming. So my information was that they were going to meet then inform the presidency about the outcome of their meeting, and that will inform the next step the government will take with regards to this. So I'm told that it was an input from the board. That's why this statement from the secretary to the president came out detailing what the government or the presidency had done in respect to Mr. Amidu's office and how the office was running. For some of us, reading what Mr. Martin Amidu brought out, we were made to believe that indeed that was really the situation on the ground until we saw the statement from the presidency also telling us a different story. So it made those who had earlier believed what Mr. Martin Amidu was saying, and then also reading the explanation, the detailed explanation given by the government, it was your word against my word and the truth. So people who were standing in the middle now have an understanding of what Mr. Martin Amidu is saying and what the government is saying. But if you look at it very well, and the instances, the dates, and the references to the letters that was written to Mr. Amidu, or the correspondence between the two, I mean the presidency and Mr. Amidu, it looks actually the presidency or the government did its best to ensure that the office of the special prosecutor really functioned effectively. After reading the 9-page statement, I was like, wow, they did all this, and yet Mr. Amidu said nothing was done, there was interference here and there. So it gives some kind of who to believe. Do we believe Mr. Martin Amidu? Do we believe the statement from the presidency, or we leave it to the judgment of the
But he indicated that the basis, one of the fundamental, the basis for taking that decision was that after that crucial 1st November meeting with the president, he discovered that there was a certain discrepancy or a certain point of departure between the two regarding how the office should function, how it was envisaged, and how it should be operationalized. And he felt that looking at that fundamental difference, he couldn't continue working with the president. And his words that the president wanted him to function as a poodle.
Yeah.
Those are serious allegations.
They are.
Which of course, there was an attempt to respond to that.
There was a response from the presidency on this. It was a serious allegation from Mr. Martin Amidu. The statement from the president also said to set the record straight on what really Mr. Martin Amidu has said in the statements. But this whole thing boils down to this whole Ejapa deal, which many people have said that culminated or was the last straw in which brought about this whole resignation from Mr. Martin Amidu. And I've heard people say that if you are carrying out a corruption risk assessment, it's an assessment. It's not an investigation. It's an assessment. And indeed, if you were assessing such a thing, you will need the other parties involved before you could run your own conclusion. I even before this whole thing came up, and when Mr. Martin Amidu released his 64-page report, I had the chairman of the finance committee complain bitterly that if indeed you are investigating or assessing this whole deal, there are people you have to talk to. The natural law of justice, says that you must hear all sides before you run into conclusion. He complained that they didn't hear anything from Mr. Martin Amidu. The finance minister also the same. The president had to order him to, come up with a written statement. We were told that it was given to Mr. Martin Amidu. He rejected it and said that there was no way he was going to, read that particular document. And yet he went ahead to run an assessment without hearing the sides of the people involved. So the rule of natural justice is that, be fair to everyone and let people have their say before you run into conclusion on such matters.
Let me bring you in here, Selim. What was your initial reaction when you heard this? And what do you think about the decision for Martin Amidu to resign? Some say that he should have stayed on to fight the cause and ensure that his firm imprint as an anti-corruption crusader, as a citizen vigilante, at least as the foundational person to hold this key office of state, should not just be left hanging with his decision to depart.
Well, it was an interesting turn of events for me. I was surprised, but I wasn't shocked because Martin Amidu's, public commentary or comments and things he's written in the past suggested that he could do a thing like that. And indeed, many have said that it's just a matter of time that Tinamidu will resign. And we knew that he wasn't very happy with so many things, but we didn't know of them in such detail. Yes, I didn't think he should have resigned. I think that he should have stayed on to fight. I think that if we had about 3, 4, or 5 people like Martin Amidu in public offices, we would have had a lot more sanity in our space. And unlike a lot of people, he has dedicated his life to fighting, for causes like this. And you don't fight for causes like this and go smiling. Like Domelevu said, if you fight corruption, corruption will fight you. I'm not suggesting that, anybody has been declared corrupt, because I'm a person of law, so I'll say somebody is corrupt or fraudulent or whatever on the basis of same having been proven. Right? So there's been no proof of this so far. What it did was just an assessment. And a lot of the things we've heard are just allegations, and I think I need to make that clear. So I think he should have stayed on. He should have fought. So I was thinking to myself that, so for example, we've had big things in the past, like Kelny GVG. If we had a similar thing done on Kelny GVG, what would have been the result? So imagine a thing like this was done on Kelny GVG, and then a thing like this was done perhaps on PDS, and a thing like this done again on Ejapa. I think if we had these things, everybody in the public service or everybody in the executive or government wanting to do or undertake a project or anything of that magnitude will be mindful of the office of the special prosecutor, because the special prosecutor or its office could on its own to undertake such an assessment, and the report will be made public. And you don't want things like that happening to you. And the next step is to conduct investigations into it, and where there are issues, prosecutions will occur. I think that was what we needed in our public service. That was what we needed in our political space to sanitize the environment. So now he's done what he could do. He's left. Where does that leave the fight? So it's a bit disappointing that he had to leave that way. But, he knows what, he's seen. He feels he's seen so much, and given the circumstances, he could not be effective. It's disappointing for me in that respect. One other point I want to make, Mike Namri says nobody should push him, else he will spill the beans, or he will say a lot of things. I think he's a bit constrained in what he can say because of the oath of secrecy he's taking and a lot of things like that, and government knows that. So that's why I welcome the president's or the presidency's comments that they will not speak on the matter again after the 9-page response was issued.
But there has been a comment today.
But
in response to his interview.
Yes, but that was a good response, right? He raised an issue about his security. And government, has taken steps to provide him security. So that is good. But that's, you said he didn't need it. But of course, that's a different matter. So I think that what government should do, aside from saying the presidency will not comment on it again, is to find a way of making its communicators, pipe down a bit on the so-called attacks on Martin Amidu, how he calls it. He says attacks on him. So what he claims Kennedy Japan, has done or is said about him is unnecessary. I have not listened to Kennedy Japan. I've only listened to Martin Amidu. So I'm just taking it on the basis of that. I think what government should do to make cool heads prevail is to call its communicators to order. Martin Amidu cannot and does not have the privilege and opportunity to be engaging on radio every time saying things. Obviously, he knows things, but he cannot say a lot of those things because of the oath of secrecy he has taken. So if we don't manage that situation well, he will be at a disadvantage, and if he's at a disadvantage, I don't know what he can do. He may damn the consequences and say things, and we don't know where that will leave the ship of state. So that point must be made clearly. Now back to the substance. Before I get to the substance of it, it is quite an uphill task going against Martin Amidu because he has high believability. However you look at it, people trust him. He has quite a high level of integrity. So anybody coming up against Martin Amidu, the so-called citizen vigilante, should really ensure that his hands are clean. So here is a man who decided to take on his own government when he felt things were happening in a manner that did not meet, proper standards. He took on the government. He was sacked from government. He came back, fought, went to court, did a lot of things just to ensure that the interest of the state was protected. A lot of things were done. Government lost office or power. A different government came. He's built his credibility over time. And for somebody who returns his per diem or his sitting allowance after a number of years, because he thinks that attending a board meeting is part of his official job. So he does not need to have board allowance or sitting allowance for attending a board meeting, which is part of his job.
But this track record of falling out with governments, is it good or bad? So Mills, he was sacked, the Oyome issue, and he resigns after being made the first office of the special prosecutor. Is that a high point or a blot on his career? Could mean that he's not a team player. He can't work within certain circumstances. He cannot work within certain confines to achieve a certain end. It could also mean that he always stands up for what he thinks is right, which may not be generally in the greater interest, depending on whoever determines or defines what that greater interest is.
So I think Martin Amidu, he's a bit different, right? And the scenario you've painted also, to a large extent, exposes the problems with our governance and how seriously we claim to take the fight against corruption. So Martin Amidu, a number of things. He's a guy who takes his oath seriously. So if he takes an oath to do something, he expects that everybody knows that he's taking that oath. And so everybody will hold him to it. But is that really the case? People don't even remember. People don't even care. People think people can do things or behave certain ways, so people don't care so much. But he cares. He believes that what he says should be his bond. His word is his bond. So if he says he will do this, that is what the people should hold him by or should hold him to. That's why he will say that during my vetting in Parliament, which was broadcast to the whole world, everybody saw it, it's online, everything. I said ABC. People might have forgotten, but he thinks people remember or people should remember. He takes his word seriously. Number 3, I think he takes fidelity to the law to a certain high level. That if the law says this is what must be done, that is what must be done. There should be no short-circuiting the system. You shouldn't bend the rules. What you say should be done is what should be done. I was listening to him in that Umaru Sanda interview today, and how he describes Mahama Yariga. Mahama Yariga is one of the first persons he started prosecuting, and that he says is his son. And indeed, at his vetting, he says that if you are his son and you engage in an act of corruption, he will prosecute you. In fact, he will give you money for you to take a lawyer, but he will prosecute you, which means that not that he hates you, he just hates the thing you have done, and so you should be punished for it. This is the kind of person we've seen in the office. So given this background, it was going to be an uphill task for many people to be pleased by his actions. A number of points he raises in his letter, and what the presidency also says in its response. So, for example, interference. What is interference? He takes the meaning of interference or his understanding of interference to a whole new level. Interference simply means, preventing a process or activity from continuing, or interfering with a situation without invitation. He takes it to a whole new level. So, for example, his understanding and construction of interpretation is quite inflexible. One, on the Chief of Staff's letter to him, after he delivered the letter or the report to the President on the 20th of October, the Chief of Staff told him that she's been instructed to tell him to take no action on the report until he's seen the President. So in his view, that amounted to the President or the system stopping him from doing what he wants to do, because he claims or he says his office is one of independence. It again depends on his understanding or how he construes what interference means.
But with that independence, why did he take a report that he
so that's another matter.
He took upon himself on his own volition to do this? Because unlike the other issues that were referred to him, this is Japan is a matter that he decided based on his own mandate to do.
Why then? Yeah, so I'm just trying to build a point. And again, when he met the President on the 23rd, the President asked him, in his words, or allegedly, to withhold a report for 1 week. He said he reluctantly agreed. So the president asking him to withhold the report for 1 week felt was against what he wanted to do. So in his view, that amounted to interference. Whether that is interference or not, I don't know. On November 1, when he met the president again, the president gave him comments by the finance minister on his report. His view was that he did not give the president the report to show to anybody. He gave it to him out of courtesy. But again, that raises a number of issues, because if you give me a report and in your own words, the report should be used to improve current and future legislative and executive actions to make corruption and corruption-related offenses very high-risk enterprises in Ghana. What do you mean by that? The president cannot take the report and then put it under his pillow. The president must work on the report. How does he work on the report? He works on the report by speaking to people who have been named in the report, asking them whether the things said about them are true or not. But here's where Amidu is coming from. He says that he intended to open a full-blown investigation on the matter. So he did not see, or he considered the president's move of asking the persons involved to comment an interference. That is a very strict, understanding of interference. Again, he says that he refused, the president's, the president asked him to shelve the report to enable him handle the matter. That the presidency has vehemently, opposed or refuted. The presidency in this response says that it is extremely important to emphasize that the subject of your discussion with the president on 1st November 2020 was the delivery to you of comments on your report by the Ministry of Finance. At no point did the president ask you to shelve the report so he could handle the matter. This is very important, because if the president indeed told him that he should shelve the report so the president will handle the matter, that will be interference. So now it's his word against the president's. But whose word do you believe? Do you believe Martin Amidu's word, or you believe the presidency's word? That we don't know. We're not in the meeting, so we don't know what might have transpired. All we have are two big men, speaking on the matter at cross purposes or at different places. We don't know that. But indeed, if at any point he was asked to shelve the report so the matter will be handled a certain way or by a certain person, that will surely amount to interference.
Okay, so we will take a break here. We'll take a break here. When I come back, I'll take the thoughts of Sami on this issue, and we'll quickly wrap up and move to the other issues for discussion. Keep your messages coming in 055058 5832. Join the comment section on our Facebook stream. Drop your comments, we'll read them for you. This is what the papers are saying. We'll be back after this break.
Your vote is your power. Your vote, your power, my baby.
We understand the way you feel. Elections are 4 years in coming, and this, in your view, is the moment to have your say on anything and everything, whether this or that, or this or that. You are passionate and excitable, and in no mood to hear opposing voices, and determined to defend your position by any possible means. Peace-loving Ghanaians would urge you to save your breath and conserve your energy. Noise is never productive. Violence solves nothing. Don't be a vigilante. The one thing that really matters is for every registered citizen to cast their vote peacefully during the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. After you cast your vote, do not loiter around the polling station. Go home and track the results as they are announced. You can come back after 5 to observe the counting of the votes. Make sure to moderate your responses after the final results are confirmed, because we win when democracy wins, and must all come together as Ghanaians, whatever our political colors. Cast your vote peacefully. Your vote is your power. Electoral Commission, keeping democracy safe and sound.
During tough times, we need a competent leader we can trust to keep us all safe.
Nana gave me free water when I needed it most to keep me clean and safe from COVID-19.
Nana gave me lower cost of internet during COVID-19 to operate my small business from home.
Nana told us to trust him to keep our children safe from COVID-19 when we send them back to school. Nana was right.
Nana gave me free electricity in my hour of need during COVID-19.
Nana told us to trust him to keep Ghana safe from COVID-19.
Welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. I still have in studio Selom Adonu and Sami Riaf. Let's bring in a couple of your messages that have come in so far. Kojo from OEB says, we are all waiting for the special prosecutor's response to the presidency's long statement. This one from Miftau, Tamale Central. The NDC folks who want to milk the latest reply from Amidu. This is so funny. I was extremely happy with the answer the president, or the answers the president has given. It's matured and straight to the point. I wonder what some young politicians would have done if they were, if the shoe was on the other foot. I call Mr. Amidu His Excellency because he's my hero. Majority of the Ghanaians support him. Martin from Akpacha. And Amwa Philip Techiman says, one funny thing is the man is saying people are threatening him, but he doesn't want any police protection. What's he really up to? Very difficult to understand him. It looks like Mr. Amidu is on a mission that the government will never kill you. They know that that can cost them the election. Okay, it looks like Mr. Martin Amidu is for a mission. The government will never kill you, which, well, I'm trying to, this should be, okay. Prince Henry from Koforidua says, if Mr. Martin Amidu couldn't fight corruption under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo, then I don't know who can fight corruption under Akufo-Addo. So let me, Sami, on this issue, and probably flowing from the text, with the message from the text of our viewer. What does this mean for the fight against corruption? For me, Martin Amidu's credentials that he brought into the office, very solid. People have said that close to 3 years he's done very. There's very little to show in terms of real results fighting fighting corruption. Never mind the fact that the work he did on the Japan now is being celebrated, is being given all the plaudits. Will Martin Amidu's resignation take something away from the fight against corruption, take the win out of the seal of the country's fight against corruption, if I may put it that way?
Not at all. Martin occupied an office and an institution. He was just the head of that institution. Without Martin, there are other people who can fit his shoes and run an effective job more than he did. It's not about an individual. It's about an institution. Obama came to Ghana and said we should build strong institutions, not strong individuals. So if Martin is gone, I'm sure there are other people who can occupy the same office and do a better job than he did. Already we're told that he was investigating 5 corruption cases, which he didn't conclude, and Japan and the rest. But I feel that as an institution we are building, if Martin is not available, there are others who can occupy the same office and do a better job
but the caliber of person that Martin Amidu is and the kind of clout he brought to the office, the kind of even if you, I mean, his readers' letters and the rest.
No two ways about that.
How he wanted the office set up and his mindset about creating a certain office as the foundational occupier of the office. His decision to depart for you takes nothing away from.
No two ways about that, because already before Martin was taking out that job, we knew who Martin was. You know, the righteous Martin Amidu, the citizen vigilante, as he said. But there are hundreds and thousands of people in this country who do a similar job but are quiet. we get to know of Martin's, achievement through the media. Going to court, media giving him publicity, doing the thing. But there are others who could do a similar job, and the media will give them the same publicity, who will be equally qualified to do a better job than Martin. So if Martin is gone, let's put him aside. Let's move forward. The president should maybe appoint somebody, or let the deputy be in an acting position until the new OSP is appointed, and we'll get the country moving. The corruption fight is not gone because Martin is gone. No, corruption is big. No one individual can fight corruption. It's a collective responsibility for everyone. It starts from home, from schools, from offices. It's not a one-man fight. The fact that he was leading the fight, leading the charge, doesn't mean because he's gone, we've lost it. No, it's a collective responsibility. We can get another person and get the whole country rally behind the person, and we'll lead a fight. Fighting corruption is not easy. Fighting corruption is not easy. It's not only in Ghana. The board across. Fighting corruption is not easy, but it's a collective thing. Attitudinal change is number one. Getting the right things, the right people to occupy the most important offices, such as the SP's office. Get an equally qualified person. Put him in there. Let him lead the fight, and we'll get to where we want to be. Martin is gone. Let's put him aside. Let's get a new person to occupy the office. That'll be my take.
Shalom, same question to you. What does Martin Amidu's departure signal for the fight against corruption in the country?
That's a very big question, Duke. So you can't look at Martin Amidu in isolation. Look at Martin Amidu, look at Domelevo, look at other corruption fighting institutions and how they have performed, and look at the issues Martin is raising, true or false. You put everything together. It makes you have a sense that we are not ready as a people to deal with corruption the way we want to deal with it. So Martin personally has set a high standard for the office, and anybody who steps in that in that shoe or in that office to become the SP will have a lot of public expectation of him. People differ in styles and people differ in what they can do, but what we can only hope for is that we will have somebody who will do the job as the law has prescribed. I don't think there is nobody who can do that job, but I certainly think that it is, Martin Amidu's caliber is rare, and he's had that track record right from the 80s when he got into public office. He's built a solid track record, very solid track record, and he's proven his fidelity to the law or to the constitution. He's proven that, it is not about him, it is about the state Ghana. He's proven that it's not about what he will get as a person, but the protection of the national kitty. He's proven that over time, and you can hardly point a finger at him and say Martin Amidu has done this thing that smells of corruption. Yes, there will be people to do so, or people you can find in a similar circumstance, but would they be willing to go into that office? Would they be able to stand to authority the way Martin Amidu purports or tries to do? I think these are critical questions. But I have a few things I want to say as well about that particular office. Martin said he wanted to build the office, according to international best practice. Yeah. I don't know what his conception of international best practice is, but he surely had a certain picture in mind. You may call it an utopian picture that he wanted to model the office after. He also talked about the compulsion to use, seconded staff in a 3-bedroom, and boys' quarters apartment or office. The matter of the office is a big matter. I think the state did its best in getting him official or proper or befitting office space. They disagreed on a few things, but I think they could have handled it better than the way the two persons or the two officers.
Even the handing over of keys to a property became
an issue because there were underlying issues.
Became an issue.
There were underlying issues about the fitness of the place. So I think the point he made was that if you know the place is fit for purpose, then call the president or call somebody to come and commission it. But he alludes to the fact that the place was not fit for purpose. So you want to give me the key. So it will be said that the keys to the place have been handed over to me. The point is the specifications and the suggestions he made about the place, were all those things made in accordance with the specification as discussed? I'm not sure. I don't know what the conclusion of that is. The bigger matter I want to deal with is the matter of the emoluments.
Yeah.
the man has been in office for a little over 2 years. Is it 2 years? A little over 2 years. And he's not being paid. Of course, I hear about monies being given to him and he's not using the money,
because
etc.
probably couldn't access gift mix.
You know,
that's one part I would really want to hear his response on.
You know,
or how money was allocated to him.
And we had heard in many, circumstances that he could not, or he was not being paid, and the deputy too had complained to a few people that she was not being paid. But how do you fight corruption when the key actors or the key fighters of the corruption are doing so on empty stomach? So I think what the two sides didn't do well was to coordinate properly on how the emoluments of the office will be, who sets the emoluments, you know, maybe a court of appeal, judges level, etc. And how was that supposed to be? And lay the blame squarely at the doorstep of the board. What was the use of the board? The board, amongst the functions assigned it under the law, is to ensure that the office runs effectively. What does effective running of an office mean? If the people in the office are not being paid, but you go to board meetings and you take your allowance or you take your sitting allowance and you go, you don't care to know whether the key occupants of the office are paid or not. For 2 years, they've not been paid. 2 years. And they've not made noise about it. When did his appointment letter come? His appointment letter came this year, when he was appointed in 2018.
Yeah.
So I think these are things that should be tied properly so that the next special prosecutor will not have these issues to deal with. I hope that, you know, by the time the next special prosecutor is appointed, all these matters would have been dealt with, the office matter and all those things would have been dealt with, so that we will have a special prosecutor who will not be dealing with these basic issues. If the board is not finding its way properly, let's amend the law and take the function of the board away. Because if you look at the composition of the board, they try to appoint like institutional appointments. So the IGP must appoint somebody at a certain level, Stride at a certain level, etc. But when you look at them critically, whichever government is in power, wanting to control the board, could easily do that. Who appoints the IGP? You know, the National Security Minister should appoint somebody. And a whole, about 4 or 5 of those people could be influenced by whatever government is in place. If you want to really build an independent office, let's watch the issue about the governing board again. Is it really necessary to have a governing board? Can't, you know, certain persons in the office constitute themselves into, you know, a body to help themselves operate within the confines of the law? I think we need to think about that. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act sets out who qualifies to be a special prosecutor, quickly want to pick your thoughts on what manner of man or woman should replace Martin Amido, if it's not too early to be asking that question.
Before I come to that, Salah raised the issue of, you know, Mr. Amido's salary and the likes. I have a document here which is a memo to the Chief of Staff and from Mr. H.M. Wood, who happens to be the Chief Director at the presidency, and it talks about the salary of Mr. Martin Amido and his deputy. And with your permission, I'll quote a portion of it, which it says, on the matter of salaries, the Ministry of Finance in its 2020 budget made provision for compensation budget for the office to employ and pay its staff. It may be true that the special prosecutor had not been paid his salary since he took office. However, the office of the president cannot be blamed. It is the responsibility of the office of the special prosecutor to set up its own management unit to manage the budget for compensation and payroll activities, which is yet to be done. This was written by Mr. H. At the office of Mr. The special body, which is Mr. Martin Amido. So it is his responsibility to create this management unit where this compensation and things will be done. That was not done. And if you refuse to do this, why would you blame someone for not paying you since you assume office? Because you've not done what you're supposed to do. You've not done what you are supposed to do to ensure the flow of your salaries and other allowances and benefits. And then you go around and write correspondence blaming an office for its inability to pay you. Meanwhile, you've not done what you're supposed to do. Back to your question. To get replacements, we must, or the search should be not necessarily be in a cabinet of someone like Mr. Martin Amido, because, well, he set a standard. We know who Mr. Martin Amido, but as I said earlier, there are equally qualified people who do not make noise in court, who can occupy that office. Credibility, integrity, a hardworking person, someone who can stand up to authority, as Selim said, someone who, do what is expected of him or her, with in mind the laws that set up the office. Already I've heard names. I've heard the current director of CDD, Professor H. Prempe. I've heard Sheshe, our own Sheshe, Akoto Ampao. I've heard these two names unconfirmed. I've heard people talk about these two names as possible replacements for Mr. Martin Amidu in that particular office. Already, people always said that he had a deputy,
Cynthia Lamte.
the lady, Madam
Cynthia
Lamte. Yeah, make her the substantive one, and let her occupy the office, and let's see what happens.
So, what manner of man or woman should you replace Martin Amidu?
Well, we need a bold man. We need a bold person, not a man necessarily. We need a bold person, somebody who understands what it means to fight corruption, somebody who has a track record of doing right things, somebody who generally is above board, not somebody who will, crumble when certain things are said because there are skeletons in his cupboard. It's difficult to find persons like that, especially given the standard that Martin Amidu has set, even with his own personal record. That is a big deal. But I think that let's get a Court of Appeal judge to occupy that office. Judges, notwithstanding everything people may say, judges have a certain level of respect in society. And judges, we've been made to know, and indeed, the situation usually is the case, that a lot of them try to be independent and neutral. Let's get a good judge, Court of Appeal judge perhaps, to serve in the office of the special prosecutor. Court of Appeal judge who is interested in civil society work, who is interested in fighting corruption, who has a fair mind, etc. I'm sure that when a person like that is appointed to occupy the office, the immediate issues of political coloration will not emerge immediately. I think that will do us a lot of good. But indeed, there are people readily available to do the job, but certainly Martin Amidu's caliber will be difficult to come by.
Some messages from this one from Selin from Tan also says, about time Ghanaians stop focusing all about MVP and NDC and fight for our country. We have to be fair to fight for this country, at least for the incoming generation. Sheikh of Zoko Borga says, hello guys, our leaders are setting a bad example for the younger generation. It is clear that the creation of the OSP was just a scam on the intelligence of the masses. Okay. Tofik from Kitikrachi says, I'm disappointed in Mr. Amidu's resignation. I was expecting him to persevere as a strong personality as he is. We'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll look at the last issue for discussion and we'll wrap up.
Are you ready for Angela's baby shower on Saturday?
Is that before or after Kwesi's wedding?
No more this and that. We really need to get everyone what they deserve.
But how can we get all in one weekend?
And don't forget Auntie B's birthday party.
Uncle T's children are going to school too. Hey!
We have so many anniversaries with different gifts to buy for different special people.
You and who?
Why don't you get Malcolm gift vouchers so they can get whatever they want?
Yeah, I don't want another dissing. I want my something.
Hey, you dance. With Malcolm gift vouchers, you can all get whatever you want. Remember, you get the same bargain prices from any Malcolm shop across the country.
Now, you can all get your perfect.
Welcome back. This is what the papers are saying. I still have in studio Salam Adunu and Sami Wiafe. Last issue up for discussions, been barely a week after the demise of Flight Lieutenant General John Rawlings, Ghana's former president, and a lot of issues have come up. On Sunday, there was a vigil organized by his party, the NDC. After that, there have been a lot of conversation, even during the signing of the Book of Condolence. Even the opening of this Book of Condolence itself created controversy. The NDC accusing government of hijacking the funeral. Sami, Thursday you witnessed the announcement of the issue, in fact, the family's decision to inform the president. The story has developed since then. There's now a whole debate about who should take preeminence in the organization of the funeral of the former president. But before that, just a few words on what the legacy of Rawlings is and how we should settle this debate, even if there is a need for such a debate about the life of such an illustrious man.
Well, Rawlings was a controversial man, so the controversies after his death is not surprising, But when he died, which was a Thursday, we're there at the Jubilee House when the visiting interim money leader was with the president. He had come to seek some few advice from the ECOWAS chairman when the news broke of his death. So that very evening, the family, led by Major retired Joshua Abuchi, came to officially inform the president about it. The next day, the president went to the home of Mr. Rawlings to go and sympathize with the wife, Nana Akufo-Addo Ajumare Rawlings. In the Ghanaian traditional setting, we are told, or we are made to believe, that when someone dies, the body belongs to their family, irrespective of whoever he or she is. So the controversy over whether to hold a state burial for him, the NDC as a political party also says they will do their own funeral for him. His family in Anglo. Today we heard of the family officially informing the people in Anglo of his passing, even though they were not happy that they decided to inform the president first before informing the family. They forgave, the people who went there to do the official announcement. So the family decision should take precedence over all, because he's a man from a family, and everybody comes from a family. So if the family decides that that's what they wish to do, I'm sure whoever is in charge should listen to them. And if there's any support that they want to give towards the burial, that should be done. He's a man from a family, so let's listen to what the family says. Even if he's a former president, would have loved to bury him here in Accra, let's listen to the family, because the body belongs to the family.
Salam.
Well, I mean, Rawlings, when he was alive, he divided opinions, and even in his death, he's dividing opinions. But I think a lot of the controversies around Rawlings' death and who is taking credit for what, or who is hijacking what or not, is largely because this is an election year, and he's died so close to an eleation.
Oh, and there's political advantage to be made out of.
And given, of course, given the fact that he somewhat fell out with his own party, before his death, and found a new love in his previous nemesis, Akufo-Addo, before his death, there is a lot to be said about that. Rawlings is the charismatic person, the person who is able to pull crowd, etc. So, yes, his party will want to be part of that. His party wouldn't want it to be said of them that even when Rawlings died, they did not even want to have anything to do with him. Akufo-Addo as president will also say that because he was former president, the funeral must be organized by the state. It's the responsibility of the state. Yes, that's true. But there are things you cannot take away from Rawlings. You can't take the family bit away from him. And you cannot take, in quotes, his life work, which is the NDC, from it. I'm not saying that you call NDC people and say, come and let's think together about how to do this funeral. But I think some of the controversies, if they were properly handled, we could have saved us all these. I think it's simply because it's an election year, so everybody is seeking to gain some advantage. So, for example, the president goes to UDS. I don't know whether he was billed to go to UDS weeks before. The week he died on Thursday, and Saturday the president is at UDS, and he announces that he will name the university or the council or whatever will name the university after him, though he had vehemently opposed it in the past. I don't even know whether that is right or not, given that the person's lifetime, the person refused it. So there is an attempt to paint the legacy of Rawlings in a positive light. And given that he was close to Akufo-Addo and this government before he died, and he was close before to his party and fell out with them, everybody's trying to paint a nicer picture of Rawlings so that if there's anything to be gained from his death and his legacy, they will benefit from it. I think it's all the scramble for votes. If you had died 2 years to an election, I doubt if the speed with which things are being done, videos being organized, this being said, that being said, I doubt if it would have been like this.
Okay, so on that note, that's how we'll wrap up this edition of What the Papers Are Saying. I had in studio Selom Adonu, head of features and articles here at Citi FM and Citi TV, and Samuel Afe, presidential correspondent. My name is Duke Mentopo. Voters Diary is up next. Keep watching Citi TV for the best in programming.
Ghana goes to the polls